today, I'd like you to get a close-up on Mr. DeMille on my good friend Claire Bain across the way.
Is she
Again, her left
the
breast, that's her good side, yes. Steady sweep.
It's also got its own little stabilizer.
Does it really? It's incredible. So basically you could tie it.
And I'm going to be chairing the meeting tonight. I would also like to introduce David, where are you? Okay. Also a staff member. And this evening, what I'd like to do first is read I think all of you picked up the voluminous amount of reading material as you came in. And unfortunately, much of it came in, in the last day or two, or whatever, and we wanted you to have it to read it when you can, and just to familiarize you with all of the different points of view around the issues that are going to be discussed tonight. Okay. This will be we're already 20 minutes late, but this will be the agenda for tonight's meeting. The first agenda item will be by way of introduction and a general explanation of the purpose of the meeting. Okay, well, sounds like we do that in the proxy, quorum with proxy votes included. Okay, let's move on.
Business, and there have been agendas submitted by the members prior to this time, and I make a motion that we consider these items and discuss them at this point and have a resolution if they're going to be included by a majority of the members represented by votes.
Okay, what I would suggest is that we add those items to the end of the list of the agenda, as I said initially.
Are you making a motion?
I don't know if it's necessary to make a motion, but I will make a motion. I make a motion.
Wait, a chair can't make a motion. A member has to make a motion.
I move that under items for the agenda be considered at that time voted on by the majority of the members.
When is that?
Oh, the items that I wish to add personally are, as included in my letter dated April 1st, copies of which are on yellow sheets here at the table. One, the election of the full board of board of directors of Canyon Cinema. Determination of a standard form of proxy to be used by the members of Canyon Cinema. Third, establish a policy and structure for open dialogue and communication between the members through timely newsletters. Fourth, an election of a committee of members to oversee revisions to the Articles of Incorporation bylaws of Canyon Cinema. The last item I'm not going to deal with, which was to discuss the possibility of creating separate profit or non-profit organizations, which would address the specific needs of electronic media, the estates of deceased filmmakers, and state purpose of Canyon Cinema, which have not been put into effect over the years. So I'm going to submit this to you, and I am deleting item number 5.
Okay, so if somebody would like to make a motion that we include these agenda items at the end of the stated agenda, they may do so. Or you made the motion? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Wait, there should be a discussion. After a motion's made, you have a discussion.
Okay.
So I guess it's unclear to me in item 2
about the legality of the proxies that have been submitted. I personally think that there's no question about it, that we're not in a position to question people who submit proxies and say, here it is, I have this person's vote. That sounds like being petty to me, wondering whether it's a legitimate signature. But it is an issue that I think we need to resolve before any kind of vote gets taken.
Yeah.
One of the things that ultimately needs to be discussed is what the status of opinions registered at this meeting will be. Stan Brackage.
And by majority vote, we determine how our meeting is kept. It's not directed by any single member, whatever their position is in this organization. A minority cannot direct the function of our organization.
It was a
This
board
is a decision that we're up for voting right now.
It was a board decision.
This is a members' meeting, remember?
But the board is not the agenda.
The board has no right to set the agenda without the approval of the membership. If you don't wish to make a motion as to your agenda and submit it to the membership here, we can vote on it. That is Robert's Rules of Order.
No, it isn't, Bruce. I know Robert's Rules of Orders. That has
Okay.
nothing to do with Robert's Rules of Orders.
Can I say something? It seems like we need to determine if we can have at least one binding vote to make sure, to decide if all the other ones aren't going to be binding. I mean, that's, sounds like what we
the proxies as they stand. I mean, is that something, is that?
Make, I presume, and then points of view around that were going to be expressed by other board members and other members. This is precisely what the first agenda item entails. I would like, Dan?
I think that in short, one member has actively solicited proxies on behalf of an issue, and no one else has actively solicited proxies. So that what the board is concerned about is that the membership who have not responded to Bruce's solicitation be as represented as the members who have responded to Bruce's solicitation. That's our concern. Our concern is that whatever votes be taken at this meeting really reflect the membership at large and not one contingent. That's why we are hesitant to have anything taken as a vote of record, but just to get a sense of binding, but just to get a sense of where people are at on the issues. We will then submit all of this information back to the membership for binding votes by mail. Bruce?
Yes, it's our rights under the articles and bylaws of this corporation to have proxy votes. And over the last year, I have requested for 1 year that the board establish a proxy form that would be sent out to the members where people could fill in any name they wanted. The board chose not to do that, and I did not find that out until your mailing was established. I wish to be represented by proxy, and I used my right to do so, and I do not feel that because I exercise my right that I should be punished for doing so, or precluded from using those proxies. And that's what you're proposing.
No, we're proposing that your proxies be taken as non-binding votes, that the people who gave you their proxies, all of their votes will be recorded as coming down on us.
These are binding proxies. This is a meeting where votes are taken. You cannot have a meeting without binding votes. And these people have empowered me to represent them at this meeting. We can, if we're going to make any decisions at all, we make a decision to have non-binding, we have to have a decision made by those members who are allowed to vote to make that decision. It cannot be done unilaterally by the board. This is not a board meeting. This is a membership meeting.
Are there any other?
One vote by mail for at least 20 years. So that one of the reasons why we've chosen.
How do you ensure that that's the case?
One second, point of order, this man is not a member.
Okay.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if I don't know what he controls, but if he controls 40 proxies in this room right now, voting doesn't mean anything. Let's just Bruce pick the agenda, vote, and let's go home.
Can I speak to the proxies and how I wish to administer them, or how I see that? I have instructions from individual proxy members who've told me specifically, some of them, what they want to take place at this meeting. Some of them are video members, and they have concerns in that direction. I understand who they are, and despite the fact that they have not directed me specifically. I expect to vote their proxies in response to what I believe their desires are. If somebody has not directed me otherwise, they have appointed me to exercise their votes. This does not mean that when I submit any amendments or proposals that have been suggested by these people, that they represent my point of view at all. Sometimes they are more austere determining votes. This is one of the items which is part of the bylaws and has already been preset within the bylaws to take place at this time. That type of vote requires a 2/3 majority.
Excuse me?
I mean,
A vote to do what? To change?
to amend the bylaws.
Well, I'm not amending the bylaws, I'm amending your
Yes, but what I'm
agenda.
saying is that we have not finished the discussion on voting for the board this evening. It's already been established in the bylaws that it takes place. My motion for the agenda is...
Well, it's understood that the agenda items can be voted on by simple majority, the agenda item.
Yes, the agenda.
Okay. Well,
But
that's
I'm pointing out that this vote is only the agenda.
Okay.
And regarding whether there will take an election take place legally, that this does not affect it.
Okay, well, anyway.
Move that we read the statements immediately and table this discussion until the statements are read.
We already tabled.
Wait a second, we have to have people being called on because Tim called out and somebody had their hand raised in the back, so if people could...
Well, aren't we still discussing the agenda? To participate, or this is our Constitution. This is our Bill of Rights as members to express ourselves, and it's been established. Now, if over the years people have not followed that, then that has not been proper, and if it needs to be changed, we need to amend it. So if it needs to be amended, then perhaps one of you would like to raise that motion and amend the bylaws now through a binding vote.
Irina, I move that since it seems that we cannot make a decision on this because we haven't decided about binding votes, we cannot follow the bylaws here. We can't even know for following the bylaws because we don't.
The person in Milwaukee said to me, please raise the issue that a history of Kansas City is supposed to have a very checkered reputation as far as the validity of the elections for Board of Directors. He said he referred to it as being second only to the Chicago mayoral elections, as far as it being totally out of control. So I would want to issue that we're talking about tradition.
Okay.
Can you say as far as what the precedent over the last, what's been going on for the last number of years? So I wouldn't know how to comment on that. Secondly, is that you have certain written materials.
We have a disagreement about this. My sense is that this is the way Canyon has been conducting. That's what we're trying to change here tonight, and this is an excellent opportunity, but you've got to get through this transitionary period. You've got to get from point A to point B, and that's what the crux of what all this discussion is about. And it's somehow that you're never going to get beyond from where you are to try to implement these written documents and to comply and conform with articles that do represent the members and all the diverse opinions of the organization, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
Can I say one more? The Articles of Incorporation and the bylaws were originally submitted by Canyon to the Secretary of State and the Franchise Tax Board. And if there's going to be any changes in the article, and they were written.
The bylaws, with regard to the fact that they have not been followed in a number of ways, in some aspects for at least 20 years, in other aspects for 10 years. For example, I understand that there hasn't been a membership meeting for 10 years. I I understand that for 20 years there have been 5 board members. So I don't want to take too much time, but it seems like the question was never answered, and maybe the attorneys don't know, but according to the laws of the state of California, how binding are the articles and bylaws if they have not been followed?
If Lynn tabled her motion, and I would, if possible, move to adjourn this meeting as an official meeting, and then unofficially, perhaps we can have a meeting that is an advisory meeting that we can report back to the entire membership about what takes place, so that we can get out of this sort of legal wrangle and take the findings of this meeting back to the membership. Does this make sense?
Yes. I'd be happy to table it, just throw my motion out. And but I would like to make a suggestion that in light of we would have some way that we would know how we would have a discussion. So I would be happy to do that.
I second the motion.
Well, excuse me. We still haven't dealt with the point of order.
Point of order, a move to adjourn is a motion that takes precedent over all other motions.
Just, no discussion, but I do
No
want to
discussion,
know
that's
what I
right,
can
no
say to
discussion.
the...
You're the one who's playing by Robert's Rules of Order. It's no discussion, I'm sorry.
I do have 48 people to tell that why their votes were not represented in this.
So it seems to me like the
Can we start a
argument-
non-formal discussion now?
Yes. It seems to me like
I have
the
a question
argument
for Peter
Wait a
and
second.
Bruce.
has been.
Wait, only one person at a time, and you didn't raise your hand. Doug?
We're in a non-formal mode now, right?
We don't-
Are we officially in the non-formal mode?
Are you a chairman, or do we have a chairman at all if we don't have any rules of order?
May I suggest something, please?
I would like to.
Can I think you still have to maintain some order out of respect to everybody here. So can we just use the hand and choose method just out of,
Who is the truth?
our chairman here.
No, we don't have a chairman.
Representing Canyon Cinema in 1967,
I didn't represent them at the time.
but you were involved up to 1974 approximately?
I think it was sometime during that period.
Majority of the board last April had never even seen the articles or the bylaws of this organization. They didn't know how. They were supposed to run this organization. I went to their meeting, and I brought up at this meeting exactly the problems that are being addressed this evening. For the last year, I have tried to cajole and work with this board to have this annual meeting, which we haven't had in 10 years, and to clean house and get ourselves together so that we can have a legally elected board, one that remains within its prescribed terms of election, which expire for 3 of these this evening. Points of view that already films in our organization have been brought before committees in Congress investigating pornography. They don't know, or they haven't brought us into it. However, if anybody gets on that hobby horse, we're in real trouble because Canyon has so little funds and so little to deal with that any kind of legal challenge that we're going to have, if we are not working within the law, and we are not working within the law as it now exists, then we are extremely vulnerable. We're going to be vulnerable enough. But this would give the opportunity for any bureaucrat or any legislature to take action against us because we do not follow these forms. That would mean the death of Canyon Cinema in no time at all. I want to see this organization saved. Okay. This is the last place in the world where I can have my 16mm films handled properly and well and get paid for it. The New York Co-op doesn't pay people. The Museum of Modern Art Film Library has no timely payments. They handle the films the worst than any other distributor that I've ever dealt with. They only had 2 of my films. And they are, this is just the last place for me. I would have never gotten involved in this to the point where I realized that this thing may just disappear and we have no place to put our films anymore.
Okay, I would like to call myself in response to that, which is, what?
You can't call on yourself, you're chairing it. You know, you're...
This is not an
You
issue.
can hand the gavel to someone.
You have to have someone else call on.
You
can't still have
I would
all
just like
the
to say in
stuff and
response
go
that-
through the
that I
issues.
thoroughly respect Bruce's motives as he just stated them. And I would say that as board members, we are all in agreement. I would say that as members here, we are all in agreement with those motives. The question is, you know, why can't, which the board has done, the way the board's been elected for these past 20 years, the board has went on a very serious retreat last summer, precisely to amend and update the articles and bonds. We have done our damnedest. We've done our very best to, you know, abide by the, you know, spirit of Canyon Cinema in carrying through this process. And we decided, as a board that was elected, you know, Bruce has been on boards that have been elected by, you know, which would have to be called illegal as well, because they were not elected by...
There were protests registered all along the line by me.
Okay, good for you. Anyway, so my you know, what upsets me is all of this sort of intramural fractious infighting that in and of itself could destroy this organization. And I think that we don't have to, you know, if we you know, attack this process of rewriting the bylaws and articles in the way we've done it, if we present that to legal experts and make sure that they're, you know, legally appropriate, then submit them to the authorities of the state of California to get them approved, fine. You know, I think my feeling is that going through this process of adhering to these ancient pieces of paper, by you know, following them word by word, or restricting ourselves in that fashion, you know, it's...
But isn't that the purpose of having those, if you revise them, are
Where's
you
the-
going to
where's
ignore
the
those
line?
too?
The line is...
Are you going to ignore the new laws as
we
well,
don't...
as much as the old ones?
What?
Are you going to ignore the new laws? Are you going to carry on this sense that you can do whatever you want to once we do revise
No.
these, just the way it's been done in the past? Because this is
No,
the
we're not.
argument that you've been presenting, that you don't have to be bound by bylaws.
I think the board took it upon itself a very serious responsibility. No board before this one has undertaken this process, and I think we did this, you know, with a great deal of, you know, we were serious about this, and so.
About the issue. That's why the membership dissolved the formal meeting, so that we don't have to sit here for 3 and 4 and 5 hours quibbling over legalese. What we want to talk about is work. Should Canyon remain solely a film distribution company, whether it's going to be nonprofit or profit or whatever can be worked out, or should it include other kinds of medium, some of which we know now, some of which we will find out probably tomorrow? That's really the discussion. I'm real interested in hearing everyone's opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, we had some real problems to do a great deal of expansion into other things. What Canyon has offered in the past has been to distribute new media by its members, and that seems to have worked out fairly fine. I think if we start opening the doors, we're going to find ourselves in a real manpower problem, a real storage, and a real inventorying problem.
It actually can push the product. I'm not sure there's going to be a big flood. I think that we have to deal with the fact that many artists who are younger cannot afford to work in film,
I understand.
and that we're committed to people's work that is of personal expression. I mean, for lack of a better description, but that has artistic vision, and that's why I'm a member of Canyon. And I know that when I teach, that the generation that is younger than me cannot make film. And I don't think that we should stay in this old mindset that film is it. I think that we're dealing with moving image technology. It's going to be changing, and it's going to be